I want to talk about the importance of keeping your range wide, especially on early streets, in order to keep your opponents guessing. Now, sometimes you're faced with situations where you may be able to bet or raise for value on early streets, but you only have a slight edge, and it's to your advantage to keep your range wide and try to get into a situation where you're forcing your opponent to guess about your range on later streets when the bets have doubled. Recall in Razz and in any stud game, on 3rd and 4th streets, the bets are half the size of the big bets that come on 5th through 7th streets. So if you can get yourself into situations where you've got roughly the same equity advantage on a later street, and can get your opponent to bet or raise you so that you can get in extra bets in that case, it's worth twice as much in value as doing the same thing on an early street. The other side of the coin is by keeping your range wide on early streets and not putting in the extra bets there. When you do catch bad and your opponent catches good, you can get out of the hand and you're not sacrificing the extra bets that you've put in on 3rd or 4th street. So that's the general theory, but let's see how it works in practice with some real hands and some real equity percentages. Take for example this hand where Hero is playing a 7-handed game. He's got a very good starting hand, and by very good we can figure out what I mean is that according to the power hand rating, it's actually got quite a high score in a vacuum. So if we were to calculate the rating for this hand, Hero gets 3 points for the 7, 6 points for the 4, and another 6 for the ace. That's 15 points, plus 2 points for having the wheel card in the door. That's a 17-point hand. That's a very good hand. Anything 18 and above I would consider, very strong. 17 is definitely solidly strong. But of course with the dead cards, he is going to get some points deducted. You're going to get a half point off for each of the 8s, and 1 point off for the 5. So that's going to knock the hand down from 17 down to a 14.5. Certainly still a playable hand, but not in the category where it's considered close to a premium hand. Now as the betting takes place, seat 4 folds, seat 6 folds, seat 7 raises. This is not the sort of situation where you would expect somebody to be making a steal raise because he's got an 8 showing. So you kind of have to give him credit for a 3-card 8 here. And normally a smooth 3-card 7 would be significantly better than 3-card 8. But in this spot, there's 2 other 8s already dead. And the 5 being dead doesn't help us either. And if you run a simulation, you find out that Hero's equity in this case is only 51% against any 3-card 8 that seat 7 could have. It's really way too thin to raise on 3rd Street for value at least, because you're defining your hand at this point. You're saying I can beat a 3-card 8, and I'm not making a loose call here. Now the other side of the coin is that if you were in a game that had big antes, cash game with big antes, or you were in a tournament of some sort where you're trying to stay out of a multi-way pot because you don't want to have to put in a lot of big bets on later streets to keep your variance down, I could definitely see raising for one of those reasons. But this game is a $10, $20 game with a $1 ante. It's a relatively small ante, and in this case, I don't think Hero should be raising for value, certainly. He should rather take the line of flatting. If somebody else comes in behind him, that's not so great, but it's not so terrible either, because they're likely to be behind, unless seat 1 has a couple of wheel cards in the hole or something like that. And even then, he may not fold for 2 bets if he notices the other dead 8s. So there's not a whole lot of upside here in a cash game like this to hero raising at this point. So we're just going to call.